Yo, yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new week and welcome to a brand new edition of what we like to call the Shifting the Culture podcast, where we talk about the different artists, different events, and different controversies that shape this world we know and love as hippity hip hop. I am your host, the vegan you believe in, Conscious Kurt, aka the Professor in the flesh as always.
Oh, this is King Kong, aka the Evil Genius, live and direct once again.
What's the deal, King Khan? How you holding up, bro?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, man. Just watching the NBA playoffs, listening to music. A lot going on, man.
Yeah, I hear that. Me too. But we're going to get into all of that in a sec. But before we do, I want to introduce the very special guest for you guys today. He is the twin brother of Ben Rahmani, our guest from the show a few weeks ago. He is also my best friend of 23 years and also a battle rapper extraordinaire. And I can tell you from experience, he is the one, the only L motherfucking Rahmani. What's the deal, my brother?
Hey, Kurt Cadet, what up? Conrad, nice to be here with you guys, with the Cadet brothers in the house.
What's going on, man? Thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, glad to have you on, my dude. Yes, you are finally on Shifting the Culture. It's been a long time coming, but you are welcome and we are happy to have you.
Losing my shifting the culture virginity over here.
Yeah, your Shifting the Culture cherry has been popped, my friend.
Woot woot. All right.
Yes, we have been watching these NBA playoffs the last few weeks. The fucking Knicks give me anxiety like I've never had anxiety before, but they are one win away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And tomorrow night can't come soon enough.
You guys are both Knicks fans?
Yeah, man. All day, every day.
Yeah, you guys are both Knicks fans, right? Oh,
Yeah.
shit. That's crazy. It's been ages since they had a run like this.
Yeah, it's been forever since like at least 20 years. Yeah, at least 20
It has
years
been.
a run like this. So, yeah, man. Just hopefully they close it out tomorrow, man. It's been a tough series, and we're like running out of players. Like every game we lose like somebody else. So hopefully we can.
Oh, really?
close
I
it out.
haven't been keeping up. What's the score between what is it now?
Right now it's 3-2, so if the Knicks win the next game, which will be tomorrow night, they go to the conference finals. But the next game is going to be in Indiana.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But even if they lose the next,
Yeah,
they still have one more chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they still have Game 7 on Sunday, but yo, that Indiana crowd is no joke. They're one of the hottest crowds in the whole league.
Yeah, I don't even think they lost in
Oh,
the
wow.
playoffs yet at home, so it's going to be tough. And yeah, and if they lose, anything can happen in the game 7. So hopefully we close it out in game 6.
Right.
We don't want to get it to game 7. We don't have to.
Hey, fingers
Yeah.
crossed. Fingers crossed for the Knicks.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I think we'll be all right.
And God forbid if it goes to Game 7, hopefully it ends up like 1994's Game 7, not 1995's Game 7 against the Pacers.
Kurt with a memory.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, listen, it'll be nice to see New York in the conference finals, especially being in New York at the moment. You know what I mean? So I'm rooting for New York too.
Yeah, that'll be dope.
I like rooting for the underdog. You know what I mean? I feel like they got the energy from last year with the Heat, where they came out of nowhere and kind of like we're making it to the end.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them
Yeah,
do
it's kind
something
of
similar.
similar. Yeah, you're right. Did you see the Hawks got the number 1 pick?
About that. Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see what they do if they get rid of Trey Young or if they go up, they trade the pick and get something else. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I heard he asked for a trade, but yeah, I'm really pulling for the Knicks tomorrow. That shit is going to be a big deal. Bro, they have not gone to the conference finals since the year 2000. That's when Elle and I were both in 7th grade. Hell, we hadn't even met each other yet.
Damn, it's crazy.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a lifetime ago. What
School.
about the other side of the
Private
Eastern
school.
Conference? Is there already a winner or not yet?
The Celtics actually
Oh.
advanced last night. The Celtics actually beat the Cavaliers to advance.
Gotcha. So if they win, they'll be going against the Celtics.
Yep, the Celtics who have been number 1 all year.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. That's gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. The Knicks won't be favored if we go against Boston. So it's gonna be tough. But as long as they got this far, it's a great season.
Right.
So
Yeah,
can't
for
get mad
sure.
at it. They did their thing.
It's funny, the Rangers are actually playing well too. The Rangers are actually deep into the playoffs right now. The last time this has actually ever happened was in 1994, but the Rangers won the Stanley Cup, but the Knicks lost in Game 7 of the finals. Ain't that some shit?
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I go I started working in Williamsburg, so I come back to Jersey through
Penn
Madison
Station.
Square Garden. Like that's yeah, it's Madison Square Garden. So there's always either like a Rangers game or a Knicks game, and it's always a fucking train is packed. You have to like stand on the train until it clears out. So I've been seeing them play because I see the whole train is packed and everyone's wearing jerseys and shit.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's pretty lit. I'm sure in New York with the Knicks and the Rangers doing good right now. Yeah, it's probably insane.
Yeah, that channel MSG did like a documentary about that whole period, that spring of '94, when they were both going far into the playoffs. But damn, if only the Knicks had won that year too, that shit would have been perfect. Well, they're still this year though.
Yeah, maybe they'll both win this year. You never
That'd
know.
be great. That would be great.
You said it was 1994, right? It's
Yeah.
2024, so it's also like a four. I
Yeah.
don't know.
That's the last time the Knicks went to the finals and had a chance, like where they were given like a heavy chance to win. But like they did go to the finals in '99, but '99 it was kind of like a miracle that they went that far. And then when they got to the finals, they got bodied by the Spurs.
Yeah, it wasn't even fair. It was yeah. They didn't have Patrick Ewing. Like that team was like an 8th seed, and they just went on a crazy run and ended up in the finals and got
Yeah, that was the
destroyed.
lockout season. That was the lockout season in the first
Yeah,
season without Jordan pretty much for good.
I feel like those are the best games in the playoffs, though. Is like when you have that like 8th seed barely made it in, and they go on some crazy spree. I remember when we were living in Brooklyn, Kurt was living with us.
Before I
It
move with
was
you
the
guys.
Warriors.
Before I move with you guys.
Oh, okay. The Warriors were the 8th seed, and they like magically came in, and they went up against like the Mavericks, who were like the 1st seed, and it was like a crazy series, and they ended up beating them. They ended up losing in the next round, though, very disappointingly. But that was like probably the most fun I had watching basketball was that series with Baron Davis, like crazy, like making half court shots at the buzzer, almost fighting. Like it was just a wild series. You know what I mean?
Yeah, some good series, man. Good times.
Yeah, Matt Barnes was on that team. Yeah, Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson were on that team too.
Yeah, they beat the Mavs. That was a crazy year.
Yeah, that was Dirk's MVP
Yeah.
season too. That was like when Dirk was going off, and
Yeah, they were the number.
yeah, they were the number 1 seed. And yeah, it's crazy. He got eliminated before he could even get his MVP trophy. How often does that happen?
And by the 8th seed that barely made it in by accident, you know what I mean? And it wasn't just like it was. I don't know. I mean, my memory's not as good as yours, but I remember the series being like a roller coaster, bro. Like wild shit was happening. Like it almost like defied reality. You're like, how is this fucking happening right now? You know what I mean? That was probably the most fun I had watching basketball.
Yeah, I remember specifically that game 4 I heard was really good. Out of all the games in that whole series, the game 4 is like the one they talk about most.
Yeah, it was just a wild series. But yeah, that's what's cool about the playoffs. You know what I mean? Once you're in, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Anything can happen.
Yup, anything can happen.
Yeah, yo, but props to Denver though. Denver freaking was down 0-2 against the Timberwolves, and they had to play game 3 and 4 in Minnesota, and they won both games, and they won the game 2 nights ago. So they're pretty much probably going to advance after everyone was kind of like doubting them initially.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think they're gonna win it all. I think so.
Denver? You're saying Denver's going to win?
Yeah, I think they're gonna repeat. I think they're better than Boston and whoever else.
Is that the
left.
team with the Joker dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a beast. They already won last year, right? And
They won last year.
was that their first time winning, or they already won one before that?
No, it was their first time.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that dude's a problem, yo. He's a fucking beast.
Yeah, he just won his 3rd MVP in 4 seasons, which we'll get into in a few minutes when we talk about the.
Crazy.
Yeah, we'll get
Shaq.
into that. Yeah, with the Shaq and Shannon Sharpe stuff, we'll get into that in a few.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of which, actually, let's get into our main topic today.
All right.
All right, so the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef has pretty much calmed down since the last time we spoke to you guys. Pretty much now everybody's saying the battle's over, and now everybody's picking winners and who was the real winner and who was the real loser in this whole thing. But despite the fact that we haven't heard any tracks in the last week and a half, there has been some controversy going around where Drake's mansion in Toronto was actually hit by a drive-by, and one of his bodyguards was actually injured because of this. And there was also another incident the next day where somebody tried to trespass on the property. But that's the one problem I had with this whole thing, is that I was kind of afraid something like this would happen. I don't know how much it's linked to the whole beef and the whole battle, but it's still not a good look. But I think pretty much from how quiet it's been the last week or so, I think we could pretty much say the battle's over and Kendrick Lamar won.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't see why anybody would think any differently. So yeah, Kendrick definitely won the battle, and I don't see them, coming back and going like back and forth like how they were a few weeks ago. I feel like we may hear some like subliminals here and there, like and like some songs they may come out like over the next few months. Kind of like how Jay-Z and Nas and like did after their beef. They still kind of threw some subs at each other in other songs, like on their other albums, like Godson and the
Blueprint
Blueprint.
two, Blueprint
Blueprint
two.
Two, yeah, my bad. Yeah, the Blueprint Two. So they kind of like threw jabs still. So you'll still get some of that, but I don't think they're gonna go back and forth. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think Drake is. No, Drake is not gonna be. Not gonna be able to go back and forth with Kendrick Lamar. He's not going. He's not deep enough as an artist, and he doesn't. Focus enough. On Kendrick Lamar for it to be like a real thing. So I think it's done from here. And I think like if it goes on any further, it's gonna make Drake look even worse.
Yeah,
Just how
to be fair, I think Drake did have the last word. I think just track wise, right? I think,
yeah, it came out yeah that
yeah,
hard parts
but in that,
part
it
six. Yeah,
definitely felt like he was trying to wrap it up. Like he wasn't trying to. Like the vibe was like, all right, let's end this. Like this is. Everyone says waving white flag. I don't know about all that, but it definitely the energy was like, I don't want to keep going back and forth with you, bro. Like
yeah, like he was
this is what.
over it, like he's ready to move
Yeah,
on.
like I'm done with back and forth. I think we all got a lot more tracks than we expected to get, and a lot of these tracks were like 6 minutes long. So
Yeah,
I didn't feel like I need any more from this battle. To be fair, I don't know if it was like my cup of tea. You know what I mean? Like in general. But yeah, they'll probably like knowing Drake. He always has like he'll always do like callbacks to old shit. Like he will throw some subs in the future, like little references or little something. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what direction he takes in general after this. Um, his reputation has been somewhat tarnished, and a lot of things came up. And in general, I feel like he was at a point where he was already kind of like losing some of his appeal and steam. Like he said, he was going to take a
yeah,
break. I think his last couple albums were kind of underperformed. And to be fair, there's always been a lot of Drake hate. I've always been like a supporter for the music. Like I've always maintained that the hate is unwarranted and that he's actually a really good artist. But to be fair, I've never been like a huge Drake fan or like I've never heard any of his albums. You know what I mean? I've heard
We
like the
have.
features. I've heard. Yeah, okay. I'm
yeah.
saying I've never been like a huge Drake fan, but I've always
He's like a
been
casual,
very.
yeah, casual Drake fan. Like you listen to the songs that are playing on the
Always
radio,
really
or
liked.
you hear
Yeah,
it right there.
everything I've heard, I've always really liked, and every time people were hating on him, I've always been like, I don't know, yo. And I've liked the experimental shit too, like Hotline Bling and Take Care with Rihanna and all that shit. Like Marvin's Room is great. Like I like when he does stuff that's not just straight hip hop, but also just like 0 to 100 and just like straight rap shit. We used to do with like a lot of tracks with Nicki and Lil Wayne, where they all would go in. They were like the kings of rap, or queen, I should say. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And
Yep.
he used to always body it on all the features. Like, so I've always been a big supporter, but I also felt like his flow was getting boring and his rhymes were getting boring in the last couple projects, more so and more so.
Yeah,
Like, I think after the 21 Savage collab, I think maybe he did need to take a break and kind of come back like inspired with a different sound. So that plus losing this battle in the court of public opinion and having a lot of questionable things said about his character and reputation, it'll be interesting to see like how he kind of if he steps away for a while, or if he keeps going, or if he reinvents himself somehow, or if, like what he does next will be interesting. But I
Well,
did hear also some rumors, I don't know how true they are, that there was a lot of pressure to stop the battle from like Nike losing a lot of money and things like that.
sponsorships
yeah, I
and
heard
stuff.
about
Or
that.
like
Yeah, I heard about that.
Kendrick apologize. So that could also be a reason why the back and forth is stopped. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's possible, but regardless of how this battle went or how bad like Drake's public image looks now, I feel like he's still gonna have his fans regardless, because there's still even people online saying that he won the battle. Nothing Kendrick said could ever make me hate Drake or ever turn against Drake. So yeah, regardless of all that, he's still one of the hottest rappers in the world. So in that regard, I think he'll still be around. But
Yeah, I think it'll be. Yeah,
But kind of similar to like certain people, like once you learn certain things about them and get a certain vibe from them, you kind of like don't have the same fandom for them that you used to. I've gone through that with many a person throughout my life, Michael Jordan being one example. So I feel like Drake is gonna kind of have like that kind of vibe to him these days.
yeah. I think going forward, like, I don't want to hear any more hip hop songs from Drake. Like, as far as like being tough, being like this street dude, or doing this and that. I don't want to hear that. I rather hear him like more, like party music or songs that he's made that appeal to a lot of people, more commercial or more R&B, type of songs.
Do you feel like he had like a tough image? I never really got that from Drake. That he like
He
just
try
went
to
on
he
a
tries
He
to
did.
act tough. So, and he does go to like different regions. Like if a new artist is coming out, he'll like jump on a song with them and kind of like use their flow. Like he did that with Atlanta, and he's kind of like doing that now with Sexy Red because she's hot right now. So he's hanging around her a lot, and the next thing you know, he's gonna start sounding like her.
no. He
That's kind of
definitely
like his formula. What he does like over the last few albums, he want teamed up with 21 Savage, and he's sounding like him. So just kind of like that.
yes and no. I do agree that he does that a lot, and I think it's actually kind of smart from a business
Oh yeah, of
perspective, and he has
course.
a business.
But as far as like deep down hardcore hip hop fans, it's not gonna connect the same. It does not. There's no feeling behind it. It's just like he's hot because he knows how to ride the wave and how to stay relevant and ride the trends. But as
It
far
serves
as
its
like deep
purpose.
down hardcore, deep down backpackers, hip hardcore, essential hip hop people that grew up on like the '90s or the golden era hip hop, it's not gonna connect with them anymore. Especially after this battle and seeing how deep Kendrick's bars are and how to this day how people are still decoding the songs and like stuff is like connecting and making sense and people are connecting the dots like just the way that Kendrick is just on a whole nother level and just I feel like this battle was more about who's in charge of hip hop and who's going to be like the leader moving forward. Because I feel like Drake, he's been the face because he's been on a crazy run, but he doesn't represent like and embody like the full essence of hip hop. And I think Kendrick is more like that. And moving forward, he needed to be the one, to take us to the next, to the next, 10, 20 years.
Yeah, no, I do agree that Drake is very much, smart about it and business oriented. And I think when I was talking to Kurt a little while back, I think he said it in a good way. Like I think Drake represents more of like making
The
money
corporate
and
machine.
like and
Yeah.
yeah, being like mainstream and what's trending and like being what's hot right now and things like that. Where Kendrick more represents like the independent artistry and like being like a more authentic, a more
Creative.
substance.
Yeah.
And I think hip hop has always had, what's main, and not just hip hop. I think music in general. There's always people who've been kind of hating what's hot, and then over time it becomes nostalgic and it becomes cool. But when it's the number one song, everyone's kind of hating on it because it's like overplayed or it's because it's super pop or whatever.
Mhm.
So to me, the battle really represented kind of like, I guess, the more pop, more appealing to the masses, more like glamorous, kind of like materialistic, versus the more like substance and more, I guess,
Authentic.
yeah, definitely. I think, and I feel like that was never like if that's the issue of who's more authentic. I don't think anyone would have really even tried to compare. Like obviously Kendrick would win in a battle of like true authentic substance based artistry. Like Drake is not trying to do that. But as far as like writing trends and stuff like that, I think it goes both ways because like if you look at the Drake 21 Savage album, Drake carried that album a lot more than 21 Savage. Like it was more of a Drake album, and I feel like if anyone gained, like 21 Savage gained from that partnership
Oh
just
yeah.
as much, if not. And I think like really Drake is the one who even outshined him on that album, and a lot of stuff that he's done with a lot of artists. I feel like the problem is that Drake himself has been like losing steam. Like I feel like he's one of the 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 artists that has been able to like stay relevant and redefine himself and switch it up more than almost anyone. Like to have like the most relevant song back when he did the motto with Lil Wayne and YOLO, and then again with like I don't know God's Plan, and then again with like Hotline Bling, and then again now with 21 Set. Like he's been able to like kind of like do that more than almost anyone. But I feel like
Oh
with
yeah.
his last couple solo albums, to me, which has always kind of been like, nah, Drake's hot. Like it just, I feel like his flow and his delivery and his rhymes started getting uninspired and a little bit stale and boring. Like, you know what I mean? I think he's just like burned himself out a little bit. And I remember hearing he was going to take a break, and then people talk, like Joe Budden or someone talked shit about his album, and then he was like, oh, fuck that. And he dropped another album, deluxe version or whatever. And like, I think he does need to step away for a little bit or redefine himself or kind of come back. Yeah, I think re-strategizing would work in his benefit, or even just taking a break. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We've been saying that for years. I've been wanting for years for Drake to take a break, disappear for a little while, and make us miss him a little bit. And then when he comes back, it would be fresh again. But no, for the last 15 years, the dude has not gone anywhere. And look, I give him credit for his work ethic and all that stuff, and staying as relevant and hot as he has in that time frame. But the thing with me is just after a while of him being around for so long and the music being so repetitive after a while, that I just started to get turned off by the dude. And then learning about these other things specifically that came up in the Kendrick beef, it just turned me off from him even more. So like now I'm at the point where I'm good with hearing any Drake music for like the next year or so. So yes, I would recommend for him to take a break, disappear for a while, let all this cool down, and then when he comes back, maybe I will miss him a little bit. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't want him to come back addressing the beef. I just want him to come back,
new slate,
make different type of music.
Yeah,
just a new vibe, maybe like a new album, new theme or whatever.
New sound, like reinvent himself a bit, which he's great at doing. Like when he came out with some shit like Hotline Bling or Just Hold On, like Going Home, like it's like a new sound. I think that's what always I liked about him, that he was like such a chameleon. He was always able to like, you know what I mean, like. And I think that would definitely be beneficial for him. You know what I mean? I think, take a little break might be nice. You know what I mean?
But regardless, we got some good ass music from this battle between the two of them, specifically from Kendrick. If anybody was doubting Kendrick or if Kendrick still had it, those doubts were put to bed.
Yeah, I don't think I ever had a doubt if Kendrick still had it. I mean, I will say that I felt like the battle was not necessarily like what I look for in a battle. You know what I mean? I think like my example of like a really good diss track is like Joyner Lucas Liddy or Eminem Killshot. Like I didn't feel like I got this from anyone got that from anyone in this battle. I feel like a lot of the disses were way too long and way too diluted. Like they had like moments that I was like, oh, that's great, but most of them like I don't know, not necessarily my cup of tea. Also, I felt like it wasn't really about let me out rap you. It was just more like let me just make you look bad using rap. Like I feel like if the motivation is to out rap, it's kind of like anything goes. Like if you have a really good bar, say it. Like you know what I mean, anything goes. But if that's the motivation, should be just like I'm gonna rap better than you. You know what I mean? And here it didn't feel like the motivation was to rap better. It just felt like to to destroy the person's reputation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it became a social media battle. Like social media played a big role, which it hasn't in like the past beefs, like the Jay-Z and Nas, Biggie and Tupac, those type of beefs. So this one was like more than just like spitting back and forth and about rhymes and rhyming the other person. It wasn't about that. It just became about like a social media popularity contest.
You know what's crazy though?
That's wild. I didn't think about the social media aspect. I think you're right. That really changed the dynamic of the battle.
Affected it, yeah.
That's wild. I didn't think about that.
So that's why you're gonna hear like a lot of old hip hop, like aficionados and old school heads are gonna say that they probably didn't like this one compared to some of the old ones. But I feel like it was a good battle. If you take out all the social media stuff, I think it was still a good battle. Still, they both dropped some good songs.
It definitely was a success considering that Not Like Us like broke the record for the most streams in a week for any like song in the country pretty much this decade, and also it's currently number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100.
That song's a banger. That was like the only song in the whole battle that like just like I would jam to, that I would just put on and just listen to. Like that was a banger.
I think that was his MO. Yeah, everybody's jamming to that now.
Yeah, no. I heard they're doing a remix with like Snoop Dogg and like Schoolboy Q and like
Jay-Z. It's gonna be like the whole West Coast. Yeah, it's gonna be. It's gonna be a high for the whole summer. You're not gonna be able to.
And I have to say, and one thing I gained from this battle definitely gave me some inspiration to diss certain things I've been meaning to diss for a while. Nice. Cap L knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I heard a little preview.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
the diss
everybody else,
list.
everybody,
The diss list.
everybody's everybody's dissing these days. It's like the hottest thing right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, it's years since Cat Williams kicked it off.
Yeah, it's been wild.
Yeah, J-Lo's on the list. Trump and Biden are on the list. Brian McKnight's on the list. Yeah, I'm coming for these damn people.
Oh shit, you can do a How to Rob.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that actually. Yeah, I'm considering that.
Kurt's on his Hobson tip.
Little bit, little bit. It's fun though.
Hey, listen, a lot of people use that strategy. If it wasn't for that, 50 Cent, Hobson, a lot of rappers may have never really,
Blown up.
gotten the following they did if it wasn't for using, that avenue of like dissing people, you know what I mean, to kind of get on.
Yeah, but it's crazy. Like, even but speaking of that whole beef and dissing thing, it's crazy how this whole thing is kind of like stretched to now Rick Ross and Game having beef. Like, Game dropped a diss to Rick Ross last week called "Freeway's Revenge," which is actually a dope title. Yeah, he dropped
I don't
that.
get the title.
Yeah,
Did Rick Ross have something?
I'll explain it to you. I'll
Okay.
explain it to you.
and the artwork,
I'll,
the artwork is pretty funny too.
Rick Ross actually stole his name from this drug dealer back in the 80s called Freeway Ricky Ross, who was a drug dealer like in LA, like during that
Oh,
period. And he actually took Rick Ross to court over the name too, but he didn't win.
oh,
So that's why it's
shit.
called
Okay.
Freeway
I
Revenge.
knew about that. I didn't know Freeway had anything. Like I heard about the Rick Ross being based on, just like Noriega's based on a Noriega. Like I knew that. I just didn't know Freeway was.
Yeah, Jim Jones. They're
Right.
all made up names. All like names from like movies and
Right.
stuff like that.
Wasn't there like a 50 Cent as well or something? I heard something about that. Or
Yes,
is
there
it okay?
was. Back in the 80s, there was a stick up kid in Brooklyn by the name of 50 Cent. They had like a DVD form that they used to sell at Foot Locker. I watched it once or twice. Yeah, he was legit like a
Street dude.
street kid from back in the day. Yeah, he was. That's where
Okay.
50 got his name from.
Yeah, a lot of these people, I guess, that's the vibe. Scarface. You know?
Yeah, it goes without saying.
Yeah.
In some ways, I think Scarface the rapper is better than Scarface the movie.
Okay. Point taken. That's valid.
All right, but also in other areas where the beef is stretching into now is even in the sports world, as now Shaq and Shannon Sharpe are beefing, and even Shaq dropped a track dissing Shannon Sharpe the other day, but now he's going on to say that there was all AI, which I'm not sure if I believe him or not.
He's saying it wasn't him. He's saying
You
it
don't know
wasn't
these
him.
days. You don't know.
Yeah, he was saying that it was AI, which I'm not really sure if I believe him or not. Maybe it's because of the fact that it didn't really get a lot of traction, and maybe people didn't like it, so maybe he's trying like to not claim it.
Right. I didn't think
But
I only heard like the first minute, like it cut off. I couldn't find a full version. But I'm not a fan of Shaq rapping so much. I didn't think it was good. Like the minute I heard it was like very mid in my opinion. So I could see why you would want to claim it, but I couldn't really hear the full disc. I don't know if it gets better.
Shaq's had his moments where he spit some shit. King Kong can definitely testify to that.
He's had some songs here and there, but I wouldn't. It's not. I'm not gonna go and run to play a
Right.
Shaq song. But yeah, as far as like athletes turn rappers, he's one of like one of the better ones. I would say he's up there.
Yeah.
But I will say this diss to Shannon Sharpe was definitely no Kobe tell me how my ass tastes. Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah, I think you told me about that.
Yeah, it was after Kobe lost in the finals to the Celtics. Right around the time he went to Israel, like when we were living in New York. Yeah, he was like at some club and then he performed the song, and yeah, it was funny as hell.
Oh, shit. Sports beefs.
Yeah, B's like that nowadays, man. But
You hear the full disc? I couldn't find like the full version of it.
yeah, I eventually found it. It's cool. Like it's nothing really to write home about, but it's whatever. It's fine for what
I
it
mean,
is.
it's more like funny. It's more funny than anything that they're going back and forth.
But more than anything, to be honest, I kind of have Shannon Sharpe's back more in this beef than Shaq's back.
Yeah.
Why? What?
Because Shaq's kind of coming off in a hater in this case because the way this whole thing started was that Shaq was kind of criticizing the fact that Joker got MVP again. Yeah, he was saying that Alexander from the Thunder should have been MVP instead, and he was going off about like how Joker like shouldn't have gotten it. And then Shannon Sharpe kind of responded saying how like Shaq's kind of just jealous because Joker has more MVPs than him. And there is truth to that. Granted, there is truth to the fact that he does have more MVPs. But Shaq then went on to say that he has more finals and more championships than Joker does, which is true. But then he went on to go and say that he's a much bigger deal in basketball than Shannon Sharpe ever was in football. And that's kind of how like it's escalated ever
Damn.
since.
That is kind of true, or no? I don't follow football.
No,
I just know Shaq was a big deal in basketball.
Shannon Sharpe was one of the best tight ends ever, definitely, if not the best. But he was he's nowhere near where
Right.
Shaq was. Shaq was like a top 10 player all time in the NBA. He doesn't get mentioned because everybody's going to mention LeBron and Jordan and Kobe, people like that. But definitely Shaq was up there. Just the thing is that Kobe won a title without him, and Shaq never won a title without Kobe. So
Wait a minute. No, that's not true. That's not true. Shaq won the title with the Heat in 06.
I mean, but he wasn't the leader. That was D Wade who led the team. I'm talking about like Kobe won 2 titles, right? Without Shaq.
Okay, like a Finals MVP and like the Finals MVP.
He was the Finals MVP and he was the best player. That Heat team, Shaq was wasn't the same player. He was he was still good, but he wasn't the same dominant Lakers Shaq.
He was support.
But
by that point, he was support. That year before, he was like an MVP candidate.
Yeah, but D Wade won that series for the Heat. That wasn't Shaq. Shaq helped a little bit when D Wade went off. I think he scored like 35 a game or something like that. Went off that and made the legend of D Wade. So but yeah, other than that, like
was that compare, like 05? You're talking about that year when
06.
the 06, right?
Yeah. 06,
right. I remember that when the Heat won that. I was in New York.
I was there with you for a little bit of that trip.
Yeah, I remember that.
Went off.
Yeah, I remember that. I would say, I mean, I don't know. I don't follow sports like that, and I don't watch like the interview stuff, but it does seem like Shaq might be a bit of a hater when it comes to like having like the big man or the center that's getting a lot of.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It seems like maybe that is the case. I don't really know.
He has a history of that, actually. He used to do that a lot with Dwight Howard, like back when Dwight Howard was a big deal. So yeah, he has like had a history of kind of like shitting on the younger players, or maybe not shitting on them, but maybe giving too much constructive criticism and like kind of micromanaging in a sense. So yeah, like, and I guess this time he finally got called out on it.
Just like, they're not as good as me. Oh, they're not as good as me. Like,
I guess I did it this way.
So he can remain. Yeah, like, downplay them so he can remain like a big bad wolf,
You can't play, so he got, that's the only thing you can hold on to.
Like backseat basketball playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I still fucks with Shannon Sharpe's show. That shit's been blowing up a lot these last few months. And weird guest, he had Kel Mitchell from Keenan and Kel on recently. That interview's been blowing up a lot.
Yo, that was wild. What he said that his wife got impregnated twice by somebody else that wasn't his.
I've heard of that.
I saw
bro, that was wild, bro. That's wild. That's all I needed to hear.
I just scrolled by like a picture with that caption, and that's all I know about that.
That's wild, bro.
These damn Nickelodeon kids are wrapped up in some crazy shit, man.
Yeah, they're all fucked up some one way or the other, yo.
I'm sure the Disney Channel kids aren't any better.
Yeah, bro. Being a child celebrity is not easy, bro. Like, it's some wild shit.
Yeah, look at Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, all of them, bro. Like, most of them.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hell, even Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was technically a kid celebrity.
Yeah, bro. Most of them were fucked up somehow. You know what I mean? I guess most people are, but definitely doesn't make it better.
Not a healthy place to grow up, but that's another story. One person who wasn't really fond of this whole beef between Drake and Kendrick was QuestLove, and he made his feelings very clear, talking about the fact how hip hop is dead because of this, and how we need to be coming together and doing songs as opposed to going against each other doing songs. Yeah, he was clowning the hell out of this beef, and I kind of get where he's coming from. I understand what he's trying to say, but I guess because of the fact that he grew up in the 90s, like when those beefs like really got personal and they went too far, he kind of has a different stance on it, and he doesn't want it to go that far. But damn, I guess some people just can't learn how to have fun with this kind of shit.
So my thing is, I see, like, I'm not pro beef, but I am pro battle. I think that's part of hip hop, at least in my book, in my experience as a hip hop fan, and also someone who has spent 20 years plus writing my own raps and putting together my own tracks, and has had plenty of battles, usually with my friends, where it wasn't personal. There was no beef. It was just a competition, and to inspire each other and to push each other, and you know what I mean, to like spar and keep ourselves on our toes. And even when we have writer's block, we're not putting out music. We can still work on our craft and things like that. So to me, it's always been a huge part. I mean, I think like the way hip hop started is a bunch of people in the cipher in a circle, kind of seeing who's the wittiest or who's the smartest or who's the smoothest or who's the funniest or who's the biggest or the baddest. Like it's always been a bit of a like show off kind of sport or a bit of a competitive kind of sport. So I really think battling is part of hip hop. I'm not necessarily beef itself, and yeah, sometimes it gets out of hand. I don't think this was like a beef that was going to get out of hand. I think it was personal, and there was a lot of like genuine dislike or hate, especially from Kendrick to Drake. I think Kendrick definitely hates Drake more than Drake hates Kendrick, at least before this. I feel like he's been kind of subliminally dissing him for a while now. But to me, like I said, it just felt like the rap was secondary, and it was, I guess, like what you said, it was more of a battle of reputation, and it was very social media influenced, and which was not necessarily. To me, it's just like I think these two dudes are some of the best at what they do, and I was just hoping for more of a. I was hoping to hear them kind of like go into their bag in a different way, and kind of like put the music first or the raps first, or maybe a little more like you know what I mean, like what I would look for in a battle, that shit that makes you feel like, oh, you know what I mean, like I didn't have that moment. Like I can't really recall any crazy punchlines that I was like, oh shit, like what I mean.
Felt
like
when that Meet the Grams dropped, I felt that was the old moment, and then the next day after when Kendrick dropped again, I felt those were the biggest moments in the.
But bars wise, which bar made you be like, oh shit? You know what I mean? It was just that Meet the Grams was like deep and dark and twisted, and it was vicious, but it wasn't like battle rap. Like
I would say,
there wasn't anything that made you be like, oh shit, I can't believe he said that. Run that back. Like, I didn't have that. I didn't really find that in the battle. You know?
Yeah, it wasn't that many.
Like when you to Kill Shot from Eminem dissing MGK. Bro, this dude says you'd have to fuck Kim in my flannels as long as I live. You'd always be inside of my shadow. I have to run everybody. Bro, like there was moments where you're like, yo, what the fuck did he just say? Like punchlines, bro, like battle raps. I didn't really feel that in this battle. So to me personally, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get that
like I don't
anymore.
Decide that one punchline that made me be like, oh shit,
If you're looking for that, you're gonna have to go to the underground raps that happen like online. Yeah, people like that.
Yeah, like Disaster, Pat Stay, Rest in Peace, shit like that. Like, bro, have you ever seen in the King of the Dot stuff, they used to do like compliment battles? So they used to have like two rappers that normally do the battle rap circuit, but they have to battle each other by like complimenting each other. Bro, there's one with Pat Stay. So look up the one on YouTube. It's Pat Stay and Roan, a compliment battle. Bro, that shit they're complimenting each other, and it's way better than anything, in my opinion, in the Kendrick Drake. Bro, this shit is great. You know what I mean? So, like, to me, it's not what I look for in a battle, and I was just so hyped. The prospect of maybe J. Cole being in it, and Kendrick and Drake, like, all going into their bag, like, not on a personal level, just on a, like, let's see who the best rapper is. And I don't think what we got is let's see who the best rapper is. I think what we got is, like, you beat your wife, you're a pedophile, the kid's not yours, fuck you, you have a daughter. Like, I was like, what the fuck? I don't give a fuck about this shit. I think for me personally, I've never been interested in the person. Like, if he's a good person, like, I don't give a fuck. I don't assume any of these people are good. There's nothing I can hear about them that will, like, break my heart or make me not listen to their music anymore. To me, it's just bars, music, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care about the personal shit. Like, I want to hear you get, and obviously, if it's a good bar, then get personal as long as it serves that purpose of like a good bar, you know what I mean? But to me, it didn't feel like that was the focus.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, yeah, definitely. I wouldn't rank this battle on those same levels like an Eminem battle or like Ice Cube's No Vaseline. I wouldn't rank it that high, but I still enjoyed it. It was still entertaining to me, and it definitely satisfied. I didn't need anything more unlike the cancellation of Winning Time, but that's another story. Questlove actually didn't stop there with some of his critiques about what's been going on lately, as he actually had some criticisms for the song Hit 'Em Up from Tupac, where he basically called it a weak diss, and he got a lot of backlash and a lot of people, shitting on him for what he said. But then he ended up clarifying, his statements, talking about the fact that the biggest thing he didn't like about the song was the sample that they used for it.
It's just nitpicking, man. Like that's
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of a reach or a flex. He's known to have like a huge collection of music and like be such a student of music and like know where every
That's the
sample
thing.
came from. And I
Maybe
think it was more like him flexing, like maybe try to be funny about it. I don't know, but I think that beat is the most iconic thing about that song, and that song is maybe the most iconic diss track of all time. Like just hearing that beat drop, you're like, oh man, like I personally don't think you can discredit that song based on the beat. And I'd go even further to say that if you picked a corny single that's supposed to be romantic or not battle oriented, and you still rip someone on it, that's even extra brownie points, bro. You know what I mean? Like ripping someone to a slow jam. You know what I mean? Like what? So I personally don't agree with the take, but I can see where maybe it came from, like a place of just trying to be funny or just trying to like flex his musical knowledge or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, old school heads are going to be old school heads. And I guess that's the vibe we got from Questlove on this case. I think him and Shaq should do a show together.
yeah. As far as Tupac Hit 'Em Up, it's like for that diss track, man. Like that's he did what he was supposed to do. He wanted to rattle Biggie, make him look bad, disrespect him, and he wanted to hurt. He wanted to hurt Biggie at that time. So that's what the diss track is about. That's the whole point.
But
of
it's also a banger. But it's like battle rap aside, even if you don't know who he's talking about or who he's dissing, that track is a banger.
Yeah,
Everyone
exactly.
loves that song. As soon as it comes on, it's classic. It's like it's a vibe. Like that's a banger. Like that's a fucking song. Regardless, like that's a single. Regardless of the battle or a diss, that's a fucking
it's
single.
definitely a hot song, man. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, bro. Like just the way it drops is so iconic. So I fucked you. Make money, like what?
The
First off, with the click, like come on, what?
I remember Cash Money sampled that beat too for like the
Lil Wayne.
I don't remember the song by heart, but I remember
the Lil Wayne song. I think The Way of Life.
Yeah, Cash Money sampled it too. Yeah, it came out in 02.
The Way of Life or something like that.
Actually, a couple of years ago, I think like maybe 2022 or 2021 or 2020. I think when we had our battle. Kurt, I think I dissed you on that beat, actually.
Maybe you did. You've done so many of them, I can't even keep count.
It's just I think that beat is perfect, like especially with the context it has. As soon as it comes on, you're like, "What? Let's go!" You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't agree with this take at all, but yeah, I do think like Questlove has definitely cemented his place in hip hop, and all. I'm not mad, but I don't agree with that take at all.
Yeah, it is what it is. Sometimes you're not going to agree with certain people, even if you are a fan of their shit. Let's get into what Ludacris said recently when he was on Cam Newton's Funky Friday, and he did like a game of like win, lose, or draw, and he was asked like if he would be able to beat Lil Wayne in a freestyle battle, and he said that he could. Mainly because Lil Wayne has never really been known to freestyle or like really be good at freestyling, so he said he could take Wayne in that battle. And then he was later asked whether or not he could beat Jay-Z if they had to both write a verse within 2 hours, and he said that he could beat Jay-Z doing that too. And how that Jay-Z is good, not that Jay-Z doesn't kill shit, but when it comes to like spitting those 16s, that's where he really shines and he can't be touched. What do you guys think of what he said?
What do you really want him to say? Like that's how you have to like look at yourself, and if you're a competitor, we're just talking about battles and competing and trying to be the number one. Like you gotta look at yourself as the number one, just like in basketball. Like you gotta look at yourself like, yo, I'm the best person, I'm the best player, or I'm the best lyricist. So you have to think like, yo, I can out rap anybody, I can out battle anybody. So I don't see anything wrong with him thinking that way. But I don't think he's gonna win. But for him to think like that, that's the way you got to think going in, I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like as a rapper, you have to kind of almost have this like, this attitude or this approach or this ego, this chip on your shoulder where you're like, I could take anyone, I could out rap anyone. And, I don't know freestyle is a term that sometimes gets misused. If you're talking about strictly making and everything up on the spot and improvising off the dome, I don't know what either of their freestyle skills look like. I've heard albums from
Yeah,
them.
with their work ethic, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
You don't
know
know
if
if
they either.
they take time. How
Yeah,
long it takes them to come up with a song? It
right.
might take a few days.
I have no idea if they can freestyle. Me being someone that has rapped for years, I can tell you there's a huge difference between writing and freestyling, and some artists are better at freestyling than they are at writing, and some artists are better at
Facts.
writing than they are freestyling. Some can do both. Some can only do one. Some can't do either. Some can write hooks. Some can't. Some can like have a versatile sound. So, like it's very as far as like in general, I think Luda is great. I was a huge fan, especially when he first came out for the first couple albums. Like I really respect a lot of his music. I don't know if I would say he's better than Lil Wayne. I think Lil Wayne definitely had his moment, but now I feel like he doesn't necessarily get as much credit as he deserves when it comes to the conversation of like the greatest. I think he's definitely solidified as himself as one of the greatest for sure. I
Yeah, for
think
sure.
he's insanely talented. I think if I had to bet on a rapper winning, I would probably bet on Lil Wayne. But I do think that you never know. Like I think Luda does have a shot. I think if they did have a battle or something like that, Luda could surprise, and like it's not like he's out of the question. Same with a Jay Z. If I had to bet who would have a better verse on a song, I would probably bet on Jay Z. But I do think it's possible that Luda could surprise and have the better verse. It is possible. That's like Luda at his best can hang with anyone.
Yeah.
I feel like he's not really in his prime, or his moment is kind of past. I haven't really heard like a great Luda thing in a while, but at his prime, I think he could hang with anyone. I think that's the thing about it. Like most rappers at their prime are equally valid. Everyone kind of has their 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
I'll compare Ludacris to Jadakiss in the sense where like their albums didn't really shine and really stand out, but them on guest verses, they always killed it.
Oh, Ludacris
Always
made a
killed it.
lot
Yeah,
better
Yeah, he
albums
Ludacris
than
did.
had way better
Jadakiss, though.
singles, way better
Ludacris
albums.
had way
But
better
Yeah.
albums.
But what I
And I
mean,
love
but what I
Essentially,
mean
Jadakiss.
is they're more
So
known for their guest verses than they are for their actual albums. But yes, Ludacris did have more success with his albums. I'll give you that. But I just mean in the comparison of where doing a
yeah.
guest verse, like when they were a guest on like an R&B song or whatever, that's where they really shine the most.
Ludacris definitely shines on features, but he's also had singles for days. Move, bitch, fucking what's your fantasy? You know what I mean? Like
Stand
singles
up,
for days, bro. Like, yeah, it's not. I
Not a
wouldn't.
lot.
I would say Ludacris had some serious chart, Billboard.
success.
Yeah, like it's not the same. It's not the same category. But yes, I think Ludacris can do something similar to what Jadakiss does with like punchlines and guest verses and features and like more mixtape shit or remixes or whatever. But he can also do what Jadakiss can't with like albums and singles and things like that as a solo artist. So I think yes, he has that Jadakiss thing, but he also has
A little more.
yeah, definitely. He's more of a
I guess maybe Fab. I guess maybe Fab would be a better comparison.
yes, definitely more so. He's more like the down south Fab, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. But that's one thing I just always noticed about Ludacris is that he always shine in those guest verses. That's why I say out of any of these categories, I think he would have the best shot at beating Jay-Z and writing that verse. I feel like in that department he could maybe win.
Like I said, I do agree that he has what it takes to surprise and pull out the best verse. You know what I mean? Like Made You Look remix, bro. He shut down everyone on
Ooh, ooh. Yeah, he even
or shit
killed
out of the
Nas on
streets
that.
and he
He did
picked his
his thing.
tenants. Like what? You know what I mean?
And then Ludacris had a song with Jay-Z and Nas on it called
Oh yeah, Theater of the
Tupac.
Mind. You know, Theater,
Yeah,
Theater,
yeah,
Theater
they
of
had
the
a
Mind.
song, and they all did their thing. Nobody got outshined by the other person, so they all did their thing on that song. So he could definitely hold his own, and definitely when he was in his prime. I don't know about now because he's got kids and he does movies and shit now. So
Yeah, bro, those Fast and Furious movies pays too much damn money.
yeah, exactly. So
Also, for some people, it's just like they've kind
Moved
of, I
on.
guess, done all they wanted to do with it. Yeah, like for Andre, for example, I don't know if it's that he can't rap or whatever, or he doesn't need to for money. I feel
he can
like he
still
just
rap.
feels.
He's been
Of
on
course he can.
songs here and there.
once again, what I'm saying is I feel like he feels like he's already kind of explored what he wanted to. Like I feel like he feels like he's done with it.
50 Cent being another example.
And he's been out of the loop so long. He hasn't dropped anything in so
Yeah.
long. It's like he's gonna be out of touch.
No one wants to hear a new 50. Like, who wants new 50 Cent music? I'd rather listen to his old shit if I feel like listening to 50. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want a new 50 Cent song.
His shows are pretty good.
He really, was like the modern gangster rap, and I personally don't really have much of a taste left for gangster rap. I don't mind like listening to the old gangster rap for like nostalgia because I grew up on it. I like the sound,
Yeah, it goes to
but
that
I'm not really looking for new gangster rap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're successful billionaires. Like
I feel like rap has evolved past that. But even a new act, I'm not really looking to hear like gangster. If it's really good, I'll listen to it. At the end of the day, it's music. If it sounds good, if they're talented, I'll listen to it. But I'm not really looking for like new gangster rap. You know what I mean? Like I listened to gangster rap when I was a high school kid. You know what I mean? Like I'm not necessarily trying to look for now.
Yeah.
You're on different things.
I'm not listening. I'm not trying to hear you. Like when I was like 14 or 15, and I heard Styles P be like, "I got more guns than police." I was like, "Oh!" If I hear that shit now, I'm like, "Okay, like fine."
Yeah.
It's not going to do much for
That's
me.
cool.
Once again, if the flow's on point, if the vocals are on point, if the beat's on point, it'll sound nice. I'll fuck with it. I'll jam to it. I don't give a fuck if it's in a language I can't understand. Even if it's not rap, like as long as it sounds good, it's music. Like the sound is very important. If it sounds good, if the beat is good, if it moves together, if the vocals are right, like cool, I'll fuck with it. But it's not necessarily my preference or what I look for. Like I'm not trying to have a comeback of that.
Yeah, that's why I don't really listen to like newer like Jadakiss or Styles P music. As much as I like them, like their newer shit, I can't really get into like that because I've kind of just like you, I kind of moved past it.
Exactly. I'd rather go back and listen to their old shit every once in a while when I get nostalgic.
Yeah, it just doesn't hit the same anymore. Yeah, it doesn't hit the same.
That's why I like when artists evolve and they touch on different topics and kind of like what Jay-Z's last album, the 444. He was touching on different albums.
That's his best albums. That's one of his best albums in my opinion.
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar, the Mr. Morale album was on.
We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Nas is on different type of different type of topics. So it's good to evolve and to change what you're about.
Well, I feel like rap did evolve in a lot of ways and like broadened itself. Like, are you guys familiar with like Coda the Friend? He's like a New York rapper. He's a bit more underground, but he has had a lot of success.
Yeah, I haven't heard about him.
I would highly recommend checking him out. He talks about like super positive shit, like shit that like your therapist will talk to you about. But the music sounds good and it's fun. Like I feel like rap is, and like you said, Kendrick and Mr. Morale, like, and a lot of other examples. Like I feel like rap has broadened its horizons, and it's cool now to rap about other shit, and you don't have to stay in that gangster lane or in that bling bling lane or whatever that I sold drugs kind of lane. And like I do like the evolution of it, and I do like when artists evolve. Like even like look at Mac Miller, how his albums progressed, and you listen to his last two albums. It's hard to even call it rap. Like he's clearly rapping on it, but it's way above that. It like really transcended that. You know what I mean? And I love that. I love when rap does that. I love when it pushes the boundaries and the limits.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like when people say hip hop is dead, hip hop is over, I'm like, yo, shut the fuck up. There's still people going to shows. There's still people rapping. There's still people performing. It might not be as fun anymore maybe as it was 15, 20 years ago, but it's still alive. It is still around.
It's never died. It's never died, and it's still going. It's still picking up steam, and it's not just America. We're only looking at. You know how big rap is in France? There's rap in Sweden, South Africa. There's rap fucking everywhere, bro. The shit is not dead. It's not dying. The Israeli hip hop scene is booming. Like rap has become a universal global phenomenon. It's transcended all the genres. It's still one of the biggest genres. It's not slow. Rap definitely did not die. And there's still, rap started as something before it became a genre on the radio. Like there's still people rapping everyday life, like that you'll never hear of. And there's tons of SoundCloud rappers and there's tons of producers coming. Like it's not that, it's not going.
It's never ending. It's never ending. I think that's why Hip Hop is Dead is one of my least favorite Nas albums.
Yeah, I feel like that's like when rappers get on that hip hop is dead tip, it's sometimes like when you said Shaq is like bitter about other centers. It's just like sometimes like they're bitter. They're not. It's not their day and age anymore. It's not their hip hop anymore. Or new people kind of taking over. You know what I mean?
And look, I've been guilty of that too before. I'll be the first one to admit that, but I've learned to chill out with that. Where even if I don't like something that's new and it's not my cup of tea, I try not to shit on it and like say that this person sucks and this person shouldn't have a record deal. This person shouldn't be on the radio. Yo, it's just not for me. I just don't have to listen to it. I don't have to, tear the person apart over it.
That's cool, and I get it. You know what I mean? Like for every Ice Spice that's dropping, there's also a JID that's dropping, or you know what I mean? Like there's, like if you look for the other stuff, it's still there. Like there's always. Back in the day, there was also trash music coming out that everyone fucking hated. You know what I mean? You're always gonna have the good stuff and the bad stuff. It just depends.
They just promote the bad stuff more nowadays than the good stuff. It's part of the time.
But you also have today. You also have the ability for the stuff that's not as promoted to, like, everyone today can easily buy studio equipment at home and put their stuff on Spotify, and like you have all the streaming and all the YouTube. Like if you look for music, you have the tools today to find it outside of what's being promoted. And even as an artist to put your music out there, you have tools that we could have only dreamt of back in the days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, most people are not going to do that. They're just lazy.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If you're just saying it's dead and you're being lazy and you're not actually looking for new artists, you're just like, oh, everything that falls on my head I don't like. Well, you'd be surprised if you just let most people, if they see a name they don't recognize, they won't give it the time of day. They won't give it a minute. They won't give it 2 minutes. How do you expect to find art? Like, if you'll only click names that you recognize and you don't like the ones that you're being like, take a chance. One time I just like picked a random whatever. I just, I let the algorithm, keep playing, and like I'm like, oh, next thing I know, I'm like, oh, like this song, and then it's changing my algorithm. It's giving me more of that. I found all these new artists. You know what I mean? Sometimes you gotta like explore and give things a chance. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's what it's all about. And the more things you give a chance to, the better chance they have at surprising you.
Gotta have an open mind.
Yeah, but before we get into our anniversaries, let's give a shout out to Nicki Minaj as her Pink Friday 2 World Tour made her the first female rapper to sell out all shows of an arena tour, and it's the highest grossing tour by a female rapper in history.
Oh, wow.
Fucking A, son. Fucking A.
Nice. Definitely gotta give her a props, man.
She's definitely she's past her, her prime or 15 minutes, but I think she also solidified herself as like one of the largest, most successful, maybe even influential to a lot of people. Like she huge artist, had a crazy run. Definitely on especially for females, as far as females go, definitely one of the greatest rappers, and not just only as far as female rappers. You know what I mean? She's in like top 10 lists of all time and shit. Like she had a crazy run and super talented vocally. Like I don't know as far as. A lot of artists that are that large have other people writing and stuff like that. I've never really researched that. I feel like a lot of artists have probably had other writing. But as far as like the final finished product, the brand, the sound quality, the vocal performance, definitely one super fucking talented. Super fucking talented.
Yeah, definitely one of the greats. So you can't just put her in a category as female artist. But one of the best female artists. She's one of the best rappers of all time, and she has the sales, the singles, the influence.
Popularity.
Moment for Life, Monster.
Yeah,
that verse on Monster.
And Roman's Revenge. Fucking Roman's Revenge. She kills it on, yo. I was just jamming to that the other day. I could not believe what the fuck I was hearing. Yeah, she's definitely the best female rapper to drop in the last 15 years. There's no debate about it.
Super influential, especially with like that generation with like, like videos and stuff, like crazy videos, outfits, super hot also. Oh, yeah. But yeah, like I remember my nieces jamming to like Anaconda when they were like little girls, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Wow. That song was huge.
Yeah, it was.
Like definitely bangers, singles. I've always like the first single I heard from her was Moment for Life. I've always loved that song. Like till this day I'll jam to that shit. It's fucking great. But yeah, just bodying it on all these verses, especially when you had that kind of like Wayne, Drake, and Nicki were kind of like dominating the game. They were just bodying it on everything.
Yeah, and she's still killing it now with this damn tour. It's about to go overseas. And yeah, more power to her. I'm not saying she's my favorite female rapper of all time, but she definitely belongs in that conversation.
Oh, for sure. I haven't heard the album, but the song with J. Cole I've jammed to numerous occasions. Great fucking song. Obviously, J. Cole smoked that feature. Speaking of King of Features, I think J. Cole has definitely earned that title as King of
Oh yeah,
Features,
for sure.
killing it on their own tracks. You know what I mean? But yeah, that song with J. Cole on it was fucking great. So, I mean, I would imagine the album's pretty fucking solid because that song definitely
Yeah,
sounded
it's
pretty
pretty good
good.
overall. Yeah, it
But yeah, I
was.
haven't really.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but shout out to Nicki Minaj for the history she's making and continues to make, and yo, more power to her in that regard. Let's get into some of our anniversaries real fast, as this one hits really close to home. This past week marked the 30-year anniversary of a special episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air titled "Papa's Got a Brand New Excuse." And basically, the episode is centered around Will reuniting with his father, who walked out on him and his mom when he was. And at first, he's a little standoffish about it, but then eventually he starts to forgive his dad, and they start to become cool and all buddy buddy and all. But as the episode goes on, and despite the fact that Will and his dad are getting along so well, one person who sees through the bullshit of Will's dad is Uncle Phil. And Uncle Phil makes his feelings very well known for how he feels about Will's dad, to the point where it causes a rift between Will and Phil. They get into a really bad fight, to the point where like Will says, "You're not even my dad. What do I care what you think?" As the episode goes on, it gets like very tense. And then in the very last scene, which is a scene I'm sure many of you have seen online over these last few years, Will's dad exposes himself for the little bitch that he is, as he decides to walk out on Will again in order to go on a business trip. And then Uncle Phil bitches him out, tells him he's not a real man and all this other craziness. And as he tries to walk away without even facing Will, Will catches him, and then he gives Will that bullshit excuse, and kind of Will can kind of see the bullshit himself, to the point when Will says bye to him, he doesn't even refer to him as dad, he just refers to him as his first name.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, and then the episode further goes on, and then Will goes on this crazy ass rant talking about how he wished he never spent any money on this stupid present for his dad. Talks about how he got through his entire life without his dad, and how he's going to continue to get through his life without his dad, and including having kids, and how his dad can't teach him anything about that. But the money line at the end of this episode was when Will breaks down and cries after that whole rant, and he just says, "How come he don't want me, man?" King Khan, what were your thoughts on this episode when you first saw it back in 1994?
Yeah, it was just a crazy scene. Just like I remember, because like it's like one of the first shows that actually had like a real scene like that you know you could kind of connect to with some of your own experiences, or experiences like your your friends went through. So yeah, just a tough scene to see. Like, and at that time Will Smith was like one of the biggest stars, and just to see him like vulnerable and like in that kind of that kind of scene. And yeah, just like a lot of people are have seen that scene play out in real life. Like, it's just a sad moment that there's dads who are like that towards their kids, like they don't do what they're supposed to do. They're not responsible. They're not they're not around. They don't take care of
They're punk ass bitches, is what they are. They're punk ass bitches.
Yeah, so what I'm saying. So they just do what they do. And that was like one of the first shows that kind of like showed that, and kind of connected with a lot of people, and just was just a sad moment on TV. And just just shows you, like, it's just sad that for any kid who has to to deal with a father who's like that, or a parent who's like that.
Yeah, I didn't really watch the show religiously or anything like that, but I definitely saw bits and pieces. It was always like a fun show, and Will Smith always has a lot of like mainstream appeal, and I feel like it was just it was a nice moment like for the show to like all of a sudden take itself a little more seriously, and Will Smith to like showcase the more dramatic acting and like a serious actor, and like make you kind of feel like pain, like you said, being vulnerable and stuff. And I think it was nice for the show to touch on something that was a little of a heavier subject matter, but is very real for a lot of people, especially the demographic that might have been growing up watching that show. It was definitely, I think it was it's a very, I think almost like a very high moment for that show. Is probably like a standout moment that the show kind of like kicked into a higher gear, or took itself more seriously, or touched on something more dramatic as far as for the actors themselves, and just the vibe of the show and the source material that they were dealing with. I think it will forever probably be remembered, in the show's legacy. You know what I mean?
In all honesty, I think that episode was a real turning point for Will Smith as an actor. Because like up to that point, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he was like the fun-loving character, the cool character, and all that jazz. But in this episode, like, you really saw like how well he could act, to the point where throughout the show, Will Smith would talk about the fact that he could never win James Avery over as like a serious actor. Like James Avery was always like super hard on him, super tough on him. But at the end of that scene, when James Avery hugs him, he whispers in his ear and says, "Now that's fucking acting."
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember that story. Yeah, that was a dope story, man.
Yeah, he talked about it on the anniversary show they did a couple years ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Uncle Phil, man.
Yeah, James Avery. Yeah. Also, he was the voice of Shredder on the Ninja Turtles cartoon.
Yeah, I remember that.
No, he wasn't the dude. Okay, no, I got mixed up.
Oh,
There was someone else that did Mufasa's voice. That wasn't him, right?
Mufasa was James Earl Jones.
Okay, yeah, okay, I mixed them up. Yeah, my bad.
But I can see how you would mix them up. It's all good. But it's funny that's personally to this day that's my favorite episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's my favorite season of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that being season 4, and that's also the highest rated episode they ever did.
Nice.
Yeah, I know you're not big on TV and all that, and I get it, but that show specifically, that show is timeless. Like that show I will never ever get sick of. Next to Boy Meets World, that is by far my favorite 90s show.
No,
I
I
can still binge watch it.
I didn't grow up on shows, but I did see quite a few episodes of Boy Meets World, and definitely a few episodes of Fresh Prince. I always enjoyed it. It was always a good time. I liked it what I saw. I just didn't I didn't keep up with it. Like I was always more into I was keeping up with X-Men or Dragon Ball Z or Batman or Ninja Turtles and shit like that.
Oh, my brother's not gonna like when I say this. My brother's not gonna like when I say this. One show L was actually never a fan of that I showed him was Martin.
I've only seen maybe like an episode. I've never really seen it like that. But sitcoms weren't necessarily my thing. I didn't watch Friends. I didn't watch Seinfeld. I was just never into sitcoms. Like I was into like cartoons and, shit like that. You know what I mean? Like I was watching Gundam Wing, not, I don't know, the Martin Lawrence show or the Jamie Foxx show. Like I didn't really grow up on sitcoms like that.
Yeah, I got you.
I get it.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
The bar was a lot lower back then for television. Even that scene of the Will Smith one, if you look at just like physical movements, not the dialogue or whatever, which was great, like that emotional scene. If you look at like Lou, for example, the dad, when Will Smith confronts him and then when he leaves, like the way he walks away, super fucking cheesy, bro. And the way that like when Phil confronts him and then the way he moves and stands still, like the bar for TV back then was just known. Like the budgets, the bar, the acting, it was just like not the same as movies, and I grew up on movies. Today, it's a lot it's a lot more blurred. Like you have some of the best actors and directors and writers working on TV shows. You have some of the highest budgets on TV shows. The bar has kind of been blurred between like movies and shows, especially with a lot of these high budget shows or like limited series. You know what I mean? Like original content for like HBO Max or Netflix. Today, the bar is like the game changed a little bit, and today I find myself getting into more and more shows. Like I don't know if you guys have seen like Baby Reindeer that just came out on Netflix. Or
I did watch the Kevin Spacey documentary that dropped.
Yeah. I'm talking about more like dramatized, like actual like actors and stuff, like not necessarily documentaries, but also documentaries blew up. A lot of like today, I feel like it's easier for me to like watch certain shows, but even then, I've never watched Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad or you know what I mean, like shows with too many episodes and seasons and
Yeah,
like
you gotta really pay attention to.
it's not my cup of tea. But like shit, like I don't know, White Lotus or True Detective, When They See Us, Chernobyl, you know what I mean, like Unbelievable. Like, there's certain shows where I'm like, okay, yeah, this feels like a really good movie. The Staircase of HBO, like there's some really Watchmen that they did for HBO back in the day.
That was
you
great.
know what I mean? So there's so like today I do find myself finding like certain shows that are like even Winning Time was fucking excellent. So there's a lot of shows today that I can kind of get into. But back in the day, when it felt like when you could just look at something and be like, yeah, this isn't a movie, this is a show. I just couldn't really get into it, especially if it was in a sitcom format. Like I could watch it here and there to kill some time, but it was never something that I was like, oh, I can't wait to see the next episode, or like something I would get hooked on.
Yeah, I get it. But the one powerful thing about that scene, that end scene when Will and Uncle Phil hug, it's kind of like the notion that although Will didn't have a dad, Uncle Phil was the closest thing he had to a dad. And that like shot at the end of that statue of like a father and son, like, sitting together. Yeah, that shit breaks your heart the most.
Yeah, no, they definitely ended like the way they just cut to credits. They definitely left it on a sad note. They didn't try to have like a happy ending. Like it was nice to see them embrace, but they definitely like there was no background music. It just zoomed down to that
Yeah, kind of ended it.
and it just cut with like no happy music or anything. It definitely left you feeling the emotions. You know what I mean? It was very powerful.
No, definitely a good episode, man.
Yeah, one of the best. One of the best. Go back and watch it if you haven't seen it in a while. But let's fast forward to 4 years later. I cannot wait for this one, as this past week marked the 26-year anniversary of DMX's debut album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot. And this would be DMX's first of two number one albums he would have that year, being 1998. And 26 years later, I can definitely say one of the best hip hop albums of all time, and possibly even in the top 10. That's how fucking good it is.
Yeah. It was like a rap renaissance, bro. That album gives me goosebumps. Like the cover art, the title, the intro, the Dame Grease production with all the church bells and shit. God damn, the growling and shit. Like, I grew up as a big DMX fan. Like when I was first getting into rap, which was a bit late, I didn't really get into rap until like late middle school, early high school. I was just discovering, hip hop around the time like when Party Up was on the radio and Eminem was coming out and Big Pimpin' was playing. Like that's when I was really getting into hip hop.
Second
So I
grade.
didn't necessarily, yeah, I didn't really get into this album when it dropped. This is actually the first hip hop album I ever bought. Like went to a store and bought a physical CD. It's the first CD
Good
I ever
choice.
purchased. It was
Good
this
choice.
one. It was the censored version because back then my parents didn't want it. But, like, personally, like,
Oh man, you can't even experience the same way.
no, but that, like, bro, I didn't even get half. Like, I was like a little teenager. I didn't have any idea about hip hop culture. I didn't grow up on hip hop. Like, it was very new to me. I heard a couple Eminem songs. I heard a couple Jay-Z songs. I heard a couple Tupac songs. I was just getting like, I was just really getting into hip hop. But this is the first time I put on a CD, really start to finish, and like had it on repeat on my CD player and all that shit. And like I got lost in the world of this album. I didn't even get half of it. It took me a while to really, once I started really becoming a hip hop aficionado and really like, by the time by like 10th grade or so, I was like pretty much really up to date with hip hop and I was understanding all the lyrics and the references. But this album will forever have like a special place in my heart. Like I was a huge DMX fan, and this is definitely some of his best work, if not his best work.
Yeah, same here, man. It's definitely one of my favorite albums, and just from the intro, just set the tone. And yeah, just one of the best intros
Goosebumps every fucking time, bro. Oh my god, that
Yeah.
was crazy.
And then when Mike Tyson used it, I remember there was like a fight that Mike Tyson used the intro when he was walking down to the ring. So that like took
Oh
that song
man.
to like a whole nother level.
Oh man, yeah, it had that vibe, bro. Like the boogeyman in the shadows. Like it was fucking crazy.
Yeah, man. And I just remember seeing well before the album came out, I remember when what was that song?
24 Hours to Live.
Oh, Get At Me Dog, when the video came out for Get At Me
In
Dog
the
in black and
tunnel.
white.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the tunnel, and it was just like DMX, and he was doing the growling, and he was like just mad animated and like intense.
Yeah, that video
And
was
it was just like a
crazy.
grimy, yeah, it was a dope grimy video.
Super grimy.
And then yeah, when this album dropped, I remember I think it was in high school, and it was like in the summertime when it dropped, almost, and like towards the end of the year, and I remember listening to this CD like every single day, man, and like this was the album like of that summer, and like everybody like had that album, or if you had it, somebody was trying to steal it from you. Like everybody had to have the album at that time, and just so many tracks, like the whole album, like 19 songs. There wasn't a lot of albums that had like that many songs, and like pretty much every song on here was dope. Like it just it
Yeah, I
was a
think
dope album.
There's barely anything you can skip on it. There's barely anything you can skip.
19 tracks, 3 skits. That's like 16 songs, all killer, no filler, and a wide variety of beats and songs as well. Like some, like you had the, like How's It Going Down was more of like a girl song. You had Let Me Fly, which is more of like a deep song. Rough Riders Anthem, which was like the more of the catchy single, which actually DMX didn't even want to do. He thought the beat was too simple, and he lost a bet or like a poker game or some shit, a card game. So he was like forced to do it. Swiss Beats, like the album was almost done, and Swiss Beats was like, we need another single. And Swiss Beats came done with the beat. He didn't even want to do it. D or Y or someone like, to get him to do it was like, all right, let's bet. And he liked betting, and then he lost the bet. He wrote the shit so quick. He thought the verse was whack. It was super elementary to him. He was just like writing whatever would rhyme on the spot, and then ended up being such an iconic song. I remember that scene in that rock movie where he comes back in like a white rich dude's body. What was that movie called?
Down to Earth. Down to Earth.
Yeah, Down to Earth. When they roll up in the yellow Hummer and shit.
Rough Riders anthem when he's rapping it as the guy, as the white dude. Yeah, I remember that shit.
Like that song became so iconic, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, that album, like shit, like the convo, like having a back and forth with himself as God.
The prayer.
Damien.
Yeah, Damien. Back and forth with the devil. Even Stop Being Greedy, which is like almost like a split personality where he's going back and forth with his good side and his bad side.
Stop Being Greedy was my favorite song.
Yo, Stop Being Greedy was great.
Also for my dogs.
This is for my dogs. Yo,
that production is ridiculous.
Big Stan. Yeah, Dame Grease, bro, and Swiss Beats on most of the production. Both had a crazy sound. Dame Grease was like kind of like his producer, and then he started trying to get into Swiss Beats.
I think Swiss Beats' only producing credit on the whole album is Rough Riders anthem.
That's it?
Yeah, from what I saw doing my research, I think that's his only producing credit on the whole album.
Really?
Yeah, that's true. I don't think he started producing really until like
the second album. Flesh and Black Flesh, he had a lot more producing credits, but not this one.
Right, definitely. Like I said, I know when he started, Dame Grease was his main producer.
Yeah, because this one's a little bit more grimier than the second album. The second one was more.
Yeah, more in the church a lot. A lot of it is Dame Grease, and he even says on the song, I think it's like ATF or something, where he like wakes up in like a dream, and the ATF, it's like a car chase, like which was great storytelling as well, which was really nice as well. Like speaking of variety of the album, but he had that. He even says like some with Grease, get in, and he's like, what the fuck you doing? Trying to stay alive. Dame Grease was definitely one of his big producers in the beginning, but also like a lot of nice features, like Big Stan, I think, is someone that he put on a lot of tracks. If you look at like even the thing he did with Cradle to the Grave, he gave him a song on there. And every time he features Big Stan always kills it. He had a great verse on For My Dogs. And then started something with the Locks and Mace.
Yeah, probably the best song of the whole album.
Yeah, that song's fire.
One of. But Mace's verse might be my favorite Mace verse of all time. Like it's clearly some of Mace's best work. And Styles P on that track, his verse was perfection, and DMX's verse was incredible. She crushed it. Jadakiss crushed it, but I would say the standouts were definitely
DMX,
Mace, and DMX. Yeah, incredible for sure. My first favorite songs on the album originally was probably the intro and Let Me Fly, and then probably the convo. But with time, I mean, Stop Being Greedy, How's It Going Down? Fucking.
How's It Going Down? They remade it because the first one didn't have Faith in it, and then they did like the video version and they had Faith Evans in it.
The version I know is not Faith Evans.
That's the one that was on the album. Yeah, that was the one that came out.
That's what I know. I don't know the other version so much. I honestly didn't think it needed the remake. Like, I guess they wanted that like big name to draw.
They wanted to commercialize it.
Which, speaking of commercializing, I'm pretty sure you was talking about the Get At Me Dog video. For one, hey, Kurt, when you were at Veganize, did you meet Malik? He's like a regular customer. He has those hoodies, those New Brunswick hoodies, and those T-shirts.
I might have met him, but yeah, go on. I might have met him once.
Malik is actually in the video. He showed me when he was younger. He was in that video. He's wearing he's wearing a custom New Brunswick T-shirt on stage, standing next to DMX. Like, he was at the bar the other day, and I was just hanging out with him. And he was in another video too. I forgot which one. Maybe some like what? I don't remember. But he showed me. It was the Mace video or something. But he showed me himself in the video at the tunnel. It was wild, bro. But I remember, I think I read somewhere when that song came out, they didn't want to play it on MTV if he wouldn't do a censored version, and he refused to do a censored version for that song. He's like, I'm not doing a censored version. And then they said they weren't going to play it, but then it was so huge, they ended up playing it anyway, or some shit, but they would just like bleep it out. Yo, that shit was wild, man. Like, that album was like such a, you know what I mean? I feel like it was it kind of felt like when Get Rich or Die Trying came out when we were in hip hop, where that album just took over everything, and it was just
Yeah.
like everything else got shut down. It was that's almost like all that existed. It was like this is rap now. I think especially like at that era, at that time, this album was like a revolution.
Yeah, because the year before was the whole Diddy's shiny suit era and all that. But then when It's Dark and Hell is Hot dropped, that shit was put to bed.
Yeah, big
Yeah, now
difference.
it was like hardcore, in your face, gritty, grimy ass shit. But it was dope.
It was
It's a
raw.
dope.
It was raw, unedited, uncensored, uncommercialized, unglamorized, like just raw. And DMX was intense, man. He had a lot going on, a lot of energy, a lot of emotion. To me, he was always like the East Coast Tupac. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
And yeah, East Coast needed this, especially after Biggie passed away. They needed like a hardcore, hip
Like
hop
somebody to take that
underground.
torch. Yeah, because
That
Jay Z
took that
wasn't there
part.
yet. He would get there later. But for those few years, I think DMX is the one who definitely carried that torch.
Well, they
Yeah,
had
he
a lot
carried
of
it for sure.
competition and a large vendetta, and there's a lot of talk about a battle that they had back in the day where they each claimed they won. But I would say that back then, my money would be on DMX.
Yeah,
DMX's run was very short. I feel like he burned bright and burnt out. You know what I mean? Like he burned so bright that he just kind of burned out. He was definitely my favorite for a very long time. I think it's kind of
And when he was on
yeah.
fire, yeah, he was one of
His
the best.
trajectory was very unfortunate to me. Like on a personal and on a musical level. But he was definitely one of my favorites for a very long time. And I think that back then Jay-Z was just not on his level. There's that backstage thing where they had like that big Rockefeller Rough Riders Cash Money tour or
yeah,
whatever.
we talked about it on the show.
Yeah, where they have that cipher and Jay-Z raps and then DMX raps. Bro, I'm sorry. Back then, just
Yeah.
like his voice, his flow, his pauses, like he was on another level, bro. Like no one was fucking with him in that time period. And you know what I mean? Like I remember even there's that interview of Jay-Z where he's like, he's about to go on stage after DMX and he's like, this dude gets on, all the street people are wilding out. He's barking, he's growling, taking off his shirt, he's fucking wilding out. Energy's crazy. Then all the girls are like, "Oh my god, he's taking his shirt off." Then he starts praying, and everybody's fucking crying. And JC's like, "How the fuck am I supposed to follow this shit? Like, what the fuck?" You know what I mean? Like, it's just wild, bro. Like, I don't know. He definitely
It was
he had
special. It was
yeah,
special.
he had that thing, he had that spark, especially
Okay.
on this album. You know what I mean? He had that magic.
Yeah, this would basically start like his whole run as like the number one dude in the game from like this album and then Flesh of My Flesh later that year to and then there was X the year after. Yeah, there was nobody in the game that was fucking with X. Not Jay-Z, not Big Pun, not Nas, because Nas, especially because he was going through his rough patch at the time, not Busta Rhymes. No one was fucking with DMX from the years 1998 to 2000. And this album is a prime example of why.
And you know what? He also, similar to like J. Cole now, he didn't really rely on features so much, almost at all. Not even for hooks. A lot of rappers today will just get someone else to do the hook. I'll get T-Pain, I'll get Akon, I'll get, this R&B singer, I'll get Drake or whatever. Like, he was dropping hooks too, bro. Not just verses, not just energy, not just he had his own unique ad libs, his own unique flow. He had his signature hooks, not a lot of features, and it never seemed like he was trying to make the music that people wanted to hear or copying what other people were doing or looking at what was a formula for success. It felt like he was just doing what he liked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and this album, 26 years later, still slaps. One of the best hip hop albums of all time, and by far the best DMX album. And a year of many great classic albums, and this year has become a common topic on this show. The best album from 1998. I stand on that.
Yeah, it doesn't really get better than this. You know what I mean? Like you can be as good. Like I think Aquemini was probably as good.
Capital Punishment also.
Yeah, but it doesn't really
I
get
agree.
better. It doesn't really get better than this. You know what I mean?
Definitely up there as one of the best. Yeah.
Bro, every like just go down the track list. Every fucking track, fucking with D, look through my eyes, bro. Let Me Fly. When I fucking heard that song,
Ooh,
actually, I had fucking goosebumps, bro. Like what a fucking song, bro. Oh my
look
god.
out to that shit.
Yeah, dude, fuck. Like even the Phil Collins sample, I can feel it. Like, yo, that album,
Yes,
it fire, bro. Like there's not one thing that I could really say that's negative about that album. You know what I mean? And the praise is endless. You know what I mean? And timeless. Like I could still jam to the shit right now, no skips.
definitely. And before we get out of here, we're going to get into our last anniversary. Is this past week marked the 2-year anniversary of Kendrick Lamar's album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. And I have to say, honestly, it's by far his best album since Good Kid, Mad City, and arguably one of his best albums, period. For not being around for 5 years and disappearing and all that, he came back with a fucking vengeance with this project. Holy shit, man.
Yeah, it was a pretty dope project. I just felt like it just a lot. It's just very very deep, and I can see why like most people wouldn't like gravitate towards compared to like his other albums. It was definitely a dope album.
I think for me, similar to Drake, I was never a huge like I never really listened to Kendrick Lamar's albums. I've heard most of his stuff and I've heard most of his music, most of it not so religiously, and I've always liked most of it. I feel like sometimes I think like sometimes I really like what he does, sometimes not so much. Um, I feel like for me it's like 50-50 a lot of the times. I feel like this album specifically, the things he did good were probably some of his best work till date, like N95, Die Hard, Father Time, Rich Spirit, Count Me Out, Silent Hill, Savior. Those also the Back and Forth, We Cry Together. Like I feel
Oh
like if you take
shit.
all those,
Oh shit, that's my favorite.
I feel like if you take all those and that's the album, like 10, 12 songs, it's the best, one of the best albums of all time. And it's all killer, no filler, like as good as it gets. But I feel like to me, it felt a little diluted because the songs, sometimes it was like hearing like all the album nonstop, beginning to end, was maybe a bit overwhelming and a bit heavy. You know what I mean? I feel like as far as best album, I might have to go with Damn.
I would say that's my
Yeah,
favorite album from him. That and Good.
Section
yeah.
80. Section 80 for me.
I say Good Kid, Mad City.
Section 80 is technically, was that like a mixtape? Was that
Yeah, it was
considered
kind
one
of
of
like
his
a mixtape.
albums? I
Yeah, it
don't
was kind of.
All right, I will phrase that. It's my favorite thing, period, I've heard from him from start to finish.
I actually, if you give me Kendrick on like N95 or Kendrick on Count Me Out versus Kendrick on Section 80, I prefer this version. As far as like, I think he's grown and evolved. I think the way he is on the good songs of Mr. Morale is as good as it gets for him. Well, not necessarily, but not any worse. I think his highs here are super fucking high. I just felt like maybe
Yeah,
to me, like the whole album was just a little bit too much or
kind of
something.
too long.
Where like sound like Pimp a Butterfly, there's great stuff on there, and if I objectively listen to all of it, he's very good. But it was hard for me to jam to the whole album. Granted, I probably didn't give it enough spins or enough time, or I probably haven't revisited it. But I feel like also as far as the production or the sound, it could be like a little bit of too much, sometimes. But I definitely feel like the songs that I mentioned specifically on here, like are fucking timeless and excellent, and I was really impressed with like what he was able to do. But I think as a whole cohesive album, I would probably go with Damn. It's like his greatest, but I do think that he fucking really. I think it was it's quantity over quality. So I think like disappearing for 5 years doesn't really matter as long as he can. You could tell that he was doing something that really meant a lot to him. And I've seen some of the snippets from the tour. My friend went to his concert when he was doing this in like Germany. Bro, the tour looked insane. The concert looked crazy. I feel like it's almost like meant to be viewed in that way. I feel like if I saw it in concert, I would enjoy it a lot more than just listening to
Wow.
it at home. And I think it was kind of like built that way. I've heard this theory, I don't remember it exactly, where like each one of his albums is like a different form of
media. Like one is supposed to be a movie, like Good Kid, Mad City is supposed to be a movie. One is supposed to be like an album. One is supposed to be like a show. I don't know, something like that. I don't remember exactly what the theory was, but I feel like this is almost supposed to be like a play. You know what I mean? Like a stage play. Even if you look at the cover art, it's like, you know what I mean? Like it kind of has that vibe.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
I feel like seeing this in live, the whole album straight through in concert mode is probably like an insane experience. I think that's how it was like meant to be kind of viewed or seen, like in its most, like, you know, like Christopher Nolan drops in movies, like you should watch it in 70 millimeter IMAX. That's how it's. I feel like seeing this when he was in concert doing it was probably such a crazy experience. You know what I mean? I think he put a lot into that, into the stage performance of that. Like I saw little snippets, like costume design and screens and visuals and like backup dancers and singers. Like I feel like it's such a, because the sound is so unique. Even certain songs like have like these little intros where it's almost like choir like I feel like seeing this, because even the song that Kurt said was his favorite, We Cry Together, it's just a little bit heavy to just hear it. It's like
you can't replay it. That's the thing with the album. It's hard to replay.
But when I saw the video, I liked the song so much more. When I saw the video, I was like, "This is insane. This is like top. This is top tier." So like, I feel like this is
storytelling, bro.
Yeah, it's insane. So I'm saying, but watching the video made me appreciate it so much more. So I feel like if I would have seeing this in concert is really the ultimate form of how this album's supposed to be done.
Yeah, this album's not an album you play in your car or you're gonna party to.
Exactly.
It's an album you listen to, like you really want to sit back and like, you know, have a drink and really listen to it.
But that's what I'm saying. Certain songs are like certain songs just jam. Like I love when you count me out. Like, you know what I mean? Like certain songs jam. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like if there was like a diet cut, like a you know what I mean, with like shaving off half the track list, it would be one of those albums that you could jam anywhere in your car, at the beach, anywhere, bro, and it would just fucking slap, and every track would be fire. But I feel like it's not necessarily a bad thing that he packed on more content, but it does bog it down a bit and make it more serious.
It does drag in certain parts in the middle. In the middle, it drags in certain parts, but in the end, it really comes out strong. Like it really ends.
Incredible work. Hard to say something really bad about it. It's just like a personal critique. But
another great track from the album you forgot to mention, Auntie Diaries. Holy shit.
That's another heavy one.
Yeah, I probably got to listen to that
With the whole transgender thing going on now, yo, that shit is very relatable to modern times.
Yeah, he just touched on a lot of different topics that it's not really something you're gonna
he really went. It's like you can tell he was like going to therapy. It was very almost like self-therapy. It was like very therapeutic.
Yes.
It was very honest. It was very personal, very vulnerable. It was very like I really respect what he did on here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, also Mother I Sober, yo, that shit gives me goosebumps. And I like especially the part of the end.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, especially the part of the end when he has his kids talk on it. Perfect.
Yeah. I definitely have to listen again to some of the other tracks for sure. Like the ones that I liked, I listened to a lot, but I haven't really listened to the whole album beginning.
And in one of the few times the Grammys got it right, this album went on to win the Best Rap Album Grammy the next year. Definitely well deserved.
What was the competition? Who did he beat out?
I would have to look that up, to be honest with you. I'm not sure by heart, but I don't know if anything else that year could have touched this album.
Like what? You remember any of the albums that came out that year?
The Joey Badass 2000 album is like one that comes off the top of my head.
I love that album. That album's great. I'm a big fan of Joey Badass. I'm a big fan of Joey Badass. As far as just putting on the album beginning to end just to listen and just like a smooth listening experience, I probably prefer 2000. But yeah, no, I can't be mad at him beating Joey Badass out. You know? I don't think Joey Badass really went for content and substance as much as far as if you look at Joey Badass's last album. What was it, like America?
Yeah, some shit like that.
Yeah, that one was, I think, very pop, but also a lot of substance, especially about like, you know, race in America and things like that. Fucking phenomenal. You know what I mean? I feel like it doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah, but this album was still incredible. And just listening to this album earlier today, it showed me the biggest reason why I'm probably more of a fan of Kendrick than Drake. Kendrick can do those fucking albums. Drake doesn't even have an album as good as this one, let alone other of Kendrick's classics. But yeah, there's one area Kendrick has Drake on. It is definitely when it comes to making albums. And this is one example.
No argument there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Kendrick, and I'm gonna go back and jam to this right after we get off. But before we get out of here, King Khan, let our listeners know how they can follow us on social media and listen to past episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, check us out on social media. Just search Shifting the Culture Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And check out past episodes. Just check out shiftingtheculturepodcast.com.
Yeah, check us out on TikTok before it gets canceled.
Yeah, correct.
El Rahmani, thank you for being on the show today. It was a pleasure. I had a great time discussing this world we know and love is hip hop with both of you. And I look forward to doing it more in recent weeks to come. But until next time, for El Rahmani and King Khan, this is Conscious Kurt with another edition of the Shifting the Culture podcast. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. And remember, whether you are an old school head or a new school head, always respect the fucking culture.
Peace.
And give new music a chance too.